alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Yesterday was an extremely difficult and sad day for cricket and its fans in Islamabad. There's collective disappointment and shock over the way that the New Zealand team chose to leave without playing any matches over ill-founded, perceived security concerns without playing any of the matches. The Prime Minister spoke to his counterpart in New Zealand to try to ally the fears that New Zealand had about their security concerns, but to no avail. We saw the way, any and all teams that have visited Pakistan in the past, including Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, have all been provided straight level security and have all had successful tours. So this leaves Pakistan as a whole quite shocked the way that the New Zealand team chose to leave. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about the international ramifications of overall on Pakistan, overall on cricket, considering of course that England is also the England team is also due to arrive in the next month or so. What does this mean for the overall image of Pakistan, overall cricket, the way that this tour was supposed to portray, the way that what this was supposed to mean for cricket in Pakistan? We'll be talking about all of that today. I have with me Brigadier Retired Tipu Sultan, who's a senior analyst. Thank you for being with us. We also have with us Yasir Hameed, who is a former Test cricketer. Thank you for being with us. Brigadier Sahab, let's start off with you. You know, the way that the team chose to leave, even for people, whether, cricket fans or not, all Pakistanis are sad and shocked. How do you see this, the way that the things have now, panned out as far as the New Zealand team is concerned, considering, of course, the Prime Minister spoke to New Zealand Prime Minister to try to tell her that things were in control and that we are fully cognizant of the security of the team, but that didn't really have any effect.
Well, the cricket saga in Pakistan has gone a little bit too long. The impression that one gets out of this is that if Pakistan is pleading to the cricketing nations, please come and play with us and we'll protect you and all that. And Pakistan's behavior is the impression that we get is sort of a timid in the state of affairs and in such a lurch and limbo that it looks as if we are at the rem or karam of the cricketing nations and the ICB and all that. Pakistan is a power to be reckoned with in the cricketing world. It has World Cups to its credit. It has been a Test team ever since 50s and all that. And it has produced great players. And in Pakistan, there are a lot of fans who are waiting for these matches to take place. And a unilateral cancellation of a tour like that just minutes before the match starts, and the Prime Minister speaking to the New Zealand Prime Minister and all that. And when we ask them, what sort of a security threat do you have, and what is the source of your information that you need to tell us? After all, you are going back from Pakistan, and it relates to our honor, our dignity, and our own dispensation of governance here in this country. And they came out with this flimsy excuse that the British embassy had told them something funny. I think
which is not corroborated by the British embassy itself also. I mean, I think that...
Well, indeed. We'll come to the later, because it is not only it is not only sports. There's a lot of politics to it. I think the Australian and the England tour are coming in the future, the dates, etc. And Pakistan should now take a stance and should tell the English people, unless you clarify what specific threat do you have and how did you assess that, and advise the New Zealanders to go back.
But I don't think that they're saying that they did advise them, if I'm not wrong.
Well, that is what the New Zealand side said, and if they said so that it needs clarification, and there were articles in the British press written by prominent people that the New Zealand team in Pakistan will be under threat. We have a complete security apparatus over there. Would that article prompted by MI6 or some other intelligence agency or what? I think Pakistan should take a stance and ask the Britishers to clarify that their position, and that tour depends on that clarification. But because lo and behold, what I think is that the Australians are going to cancel their tour, and England are going to cancel their tour.
So?
And before another double pincer attack in cricket on Pakistan takes place, I think
it has to be done. You're saying, okay,
Pakistan should get the bull by the horn, and Pakistan should not look timid and apologetic about it.
Right, let me come back to you.
And the second segment we must discuss, are there any politics to it?
Yes, I
Indeed
want to come
there
to that.
are.
Ji, I want to come to that. I will, let me just go to Yasir Hameed. Ji, Yasir, if you've been following our discussion, Brigadier Tipu Sultan, he's been saying that Pakistan really needs to now get after the English also as far as the British are concerned, and to ask them to clarify what kind of threat it was that they perceived, and then whether it was actually communicated, because the way that it happened is certainly, our honor, dignity, all of that certainly has been in some way affected. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It was a really sad day yesterday for cricket fans in Pakistan. And yeah, Brigadier Sahib is right. There is no evidence of any type of threat. We didn't see in media. They didn't show to the people, and it was so embarrassing. Yesterday was very hard day on Pakistan cricket. But I was thinking that how they have, the cricketers of New Zealand. We know them as a nation. They are very soft people. But how they took this, for 5 days they've been here, and right before the toss and few minutes before the match, they have left the game. As a cricketer, I could have never thought about. I never thought about this, that I go to ground and come back without a match and without playing, and you go and you have a flight tonight. And I was just thinking about the players, what they have been going through now, that how much they will be embarrassed, and they should have been embarrassed, and they should be embarrassed. That this is totally unacceptable as a nation, when Prime Minister have called their Prime Minister and told and asked them to stay, and state level security has been provided to the players. And I mean, this is totally unacceptable. But at ICC level, Pakistan should take up their case with softness and gentleness. But when it comes to New Zealand in the future, Pakistan should think twice before playing them, because Pakistan also toured there when there was incident happened in the mosque there, and the Pakistani players went to the families of the victims. So these all things, you see, nature is watching everything, and today we are as a nation. We were sad yesterday, but today we are all right. We know that we have done everything right. We have provided every security, every luxury to the players. They have enjoyed their stay here, and game was just about to start, and they left just only on wax. There's no conclude in evidence, and it's not in the media or anywhere from them. So till that, we have to wait and see what they say about it. And
when you say that Pakistan should take up the case, and it's been said before also in the ICC, what does it entail? What are? Can you tell us a little bit? Can you walk us through what would it mean if Pakistan chooses to agitate the way things have happened here?
Obviously, Pakistan should claim the damages. We lost, the broadcast. We lost lot of things. We have invested on the New Zealand team. Anyway, they were our guests, and for future they are always welcome. After even after this incident, we will welcome them, because we are our hospitality is everyone knows about Pakistani hospitality. And another thing I want to say, in this summer there are so many tourists came to Pakistan. They went to north, they enjoyed, they videographed it there, they posted from there, and we know that Pakistan is for so many months the security situation is very good, and there is something, some conspiracy behind it. Maybe that how did this all happen? It has to be investigated. And another thing, it was significant series. If you talk about the players, we have to play World Cup next month, and it was very important series for the players as well, that they perform there. They come into the group. But anyway, we wish that our team play well in the World Cup.
Right. Yeah, this
in
is
past,
when we talk about earlier tours, we talk about Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, and in your experience, of course, the security that is provided is state-level security. Even the images that were shared later on social media, the way that the cricket team was hosted, it's clear that foolproof security was available to them.
Yeah, foolproof security was available, and there is a video on social media as well, and I've seen that. I've never seen security like that for any team in the past. There are a lot of cars in front and behind with the those flying coaches, and yes, it was great security, and I'm just. I cannot believe, and we are all surprised that how it all happened, because it was just we don't understand what happened. Don't understand.
Right. I think when you say that we don't understand what happened, that's exactly, I think, hitting the nail on the head, because I think as the Pakistani nation, a cricket lovers nation, is still grappling with exactly what happened. I'll come back to you. Brigadier Sahab, you agree, right? I mean, we don't know what happened, and this is why you're saying that we should also be asking.
Mahrukh, there are two things that we must understand. One is the cricket schedule, which is decided by the ICC, International Cricket Council, who's going to play whom and when. The other thing is that the individual players, if they have their own personal security concerns, nobody can force an individual to play forcibly in a country.
But this isn't an individual, this is a whole national team. For them to come out and say
I'm coming to that. So this schedule was planned in a manner that we hosted their security team. They were satisfied, and they are on record saying that everything is good, and we need to go through this tour.
Right. Let me come back. So we have with us, I will, if you give me a minute, we have with us Mohsin Hassan Khan, who's also a former Test cricketer. Mohsin sir, we were talking about what exactly happened, and I think Brigadier Sahab is here with us. He's been saying how, as far as security is concerned, we had provided them with the best security that we could have provided. There didn't seem to be any cause of concern. There didn't seem to be any imminent threat, and yet here we are. What do you think could be behind it?
Well, one thing for sure, I can very proudly say that Alhamdulillah, our security has been and is very tremendous, and there is no lack of anything where you feel that something we were lacking. And I can very proudly say that, because all the players, those who come, especially the foreign players and the white players, I'm talking about the white players, because they have been a little bit edgy to start with to come and play in Pakistan. But security-wise, and after seeing that Sri Lanka episode, debacle rather, I think our security forces has done a tremendous job, and always do that. I can very proudly say that. And them leaving at a certain time at the last minute of the game, suddenly what happened, I don't know. I don't want to go into that, but it is definitely not because of security. That's what I feel. I may be wrong, because our security has been tremendous. So,
no, but even, I mean, in your experience, in other teams, when other teams have come and, you know, we've had other successful tours, that's not an exaggeration by any means. What makes, in your opinion, what could have been a trigger factor for the team? I mean, of course, I'm asking you to speculate.
Yeah, I'm only speculating. Yeah, I can, and I don't want to, you know, I think we should not beat around the bush here at the moment to create any controversies or anything like that. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, I think she's a wonderful person. She has shown that in the past. You remember what happened when there was some killing of some Muslims in New Zealand.
Yes.
So she had a tremendous response to that. She had, you know, the azan to be given in every mosque, and I think that was a great gesture of her. And if I'm not wrong, they also, Imran and our Prime Minister and she spoke to each other, and they had something in mind. That's why Imran also probably said that he's, you know, like if they want to go, let them go. If they had some hesitations, because they, as you know, today in the world, not in Pakistan but in the world, this problem has come up a lot. In probably in all the countries, everybody is very careful about security system. And like I said before, and I'm not saying this because I'm a Pakistani, but I can very proudly say, Alhamdulillah, our security has been immaculate, always, whenever the players from other countries, they come. So this thing which arose at the last minute, just before, probably half an hour before the match, I was also covering this match for a private channel. We came to know, we were shocked at what happened. And they just said they have to go. Now, I think now, without you asking me, this matter is now not in the hands of Pakistan Cricket Board or New Zealand Cricket Board or ICC. This matter is now between the two governments. They will satisfy each other, and I'm sure they will, because both the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, and their Prime Minister, they're very wonderful human being, very nice person, very sensible. Imran, our Prime Minister, also knows about the cricket and off the field problems and all the on the field problems. So, personally, I feel that
how
we
do you
should
see the future tours? I mean, for example, the tour of England. That's you know, maybe around a month from now. Do you think this will have an effect on that?
Now, this is a very good question. Very good question. England and Australia, as planned, England was coming first and then Australia was coming. That was a long tour. And both England and Australia are from the top teams of the world. So now I'm just hoping, honestly, I'm praying rather than hoping that that shouldn't get disturbed, because those two tours are very important for our future international cricket at home. And I hope it happens. But if there are some reservations, I'm sure our government, our security forces will definitely take care of that and make sure that if somebody has any reservations, instead of going and jumping into, you know, like jumping into trouble, nobody wants that. So, but again, I'll say those two tours, especially England, very close by.
Us the way they did.
Pardon?
Jumping into trouble, you mean abandoning us the way that they did?
No. I'm not saying this. See, they didn't do it on purpose or anything like that. Some problem must have been there. Some serious thing must have been there, which I think is a government matter now. As I was saying, it is not in the hands of cricket boards now of both the respective countries. It's between the government and the security forces. Let them decide, and I think we'll come out with a good decision, inshallah. But I'm just hoping and praying that the coming tours of England and Australia, that shouldn't get disturbed, and hopefully it won't. But I'm sure the governments will make sure that nothing happens like this, what has happened just now, because this hasn't passed a good message at all within Pakistan and outside Pakistan. Why it happened? I think it's a government matter. We should not, like I said, beating around the bush.
Thank you for being with us, Mohsin Hassan Khan. Thank you for joining us. Ji, Brigadier Sahab, whether we choose to see things, you know, as clearly as we would, you know, they are right in front of us. According to you, do you think that those tours will be cancelled? There are chances that they will.
It will definitely have an effect on those two tours, and I think both the English and Australian cricket boards have already said that they are assessing the situation. They passed the statements there. What I think is that the international community has not been fair to Pakistan in many aspects other than cricket. We had an incident at Gaddafi Stadium when Sri Lankans were here, and that incident has been investigated. I think that investigation and the investigation on this tour has to be linked.
Okay.
And if there are any hidden forces working on the aspects of sports being held in Pakistan and isolating Pakistan in that aspect, but the Indians have officially known to have said so. But okay, we will not take that on their
What about the role of India?
Well, what I'm saying is that the culprits of the Gaddafi Stadium Sri Lanka match has been unearthed. That has to be linked. If they establish any links with that, and the way the international community has behaved with Pakistan, I think I will say again that Pakistan has behaved in a very timid fashion. Sports or no sports, I think we need to get to the truth. And we need to get our act together. I think the government of Pakistan has to energize all the institutions at its disposal, including the cricket board here, Pakistan Cricket Board, Hameed Raja and whoever, and the intelligence agencies, and come up with an answer. Come up with an answer. If the international community has behaved in a sinister manner against Pakistan, then Pakistan should say so. Except being apologetic about it. And I think it is time for Pakistan to ponder over what is happening to its cricket, what is happening to it internationally. On the international community, when I say it has not been fair to us, look at what is happening at FATF and what is the Indian role over there. Pakistan has complied with all the points that the international community wanted, and we still stay in the grey list for years. So why? Why is Pakistan being discriminated? Where there is a host of countries in the world which do not have as good an efficiency as Pakistan has. Pakistan is the only country in the world which has fought a successful war against terrorism. People forget what happened in Sawat, what happened in Waziristan, what happened in Wana and all that, what happened in the school in Peshawar. Pakistan Armed Forces fought a war in these territories which was much more intense than what went on between the NATO and American and Taliban in Afghanistan. And we won that. But the army is losing people even now. Even the other day we lost about 7 people. And hundreds of people have been lost in that war against terrorism. We did it for ourselves. And yet the Indians are raising a bogey of terrorism and getting away with it. They were fanning that the dossier that Pakistan has submitted to the international community on what the Indians have been doing through Afghan territory is there, and the international community turns its eye on the other side. I think Pakistan needs to have an aggressive policy. Pakistan does not need now being timid about it. Pakistan has had an onslaught of all the agencies, the CIA, the RAW and Mossad, and you think of it in South Asia through Afghanistan, and Pakistan has weathered that storm of Soviet Union, of the Americans and everybody. And now is the time to show the mirror to the international community.
But when, the fact that, of course, when we talk about isolating Pakistan, the time of this, the timing itself, don't you think it's itself a cause for concern? Because, as far as isolating Pakistan is concerned, we've seen successful interaction with so many countries recently.
Mahrukh, to my estimate, if there are no one-odd cricket one-day international or 2020 a test match here in Pakistan, it's okay. But our prestige is at stake. What we have achieved for the world indeed and for ourselves at large. That prestige has to be preserved. and you have to look into the eyes of the international community and these cricketing nations whom we have played lots of matches to tell us if the England embassy, the British embassy over here, according to the New Zealanders, advised them. If they did, Pakistan needs to ask them what is your source of information, and why have you been writing in your print media months earlier and weeks earlier on the subject, insinuating and building up an atmosphere in Pakistan and asking the New Zealanders to get away in a dramatic fashion. And these two nations which are coming up, Australians and England, Pakistan needs to hold the bull by the horns before it gets nasty and it gets funny again.
Do you think
this is the time for Pakistan to think and get all the institutions together and formulate a policy and tell the international community, it is the supporting the world, this is what it is.
Do you think that the timing of it linked with what's happening as far as the Taliban are concerned, is perhaps it's linked to that? Or it's been portrayed as such?
If I say that it is linked to that, my saying should be based on concrete evidence. I will not say that.
Okay.
But I will also not exonerate the Western community of the way they have been dealing with Pakistan. The way they have been partisan, despite the Indian lynching of the Kashmiris and the human rights violations and everything over there, the Indians are getting away with it. People talk of Uyghur Muslims, people talk of Pakistan, minorities. Nobody talks what this fascist government in New Delhi doing based on Nazism. Nobody talks of that. Why? So that forces me to think that there is something sinister under the carpet which is brewing against Pakistan for a long time, and there is a tacit combination of them between them and the Indians. Remember that about a week or 10 days back, the Indians signed a free trade agreement with the British.
Yeah.
If it is a mercantile interest, Pakistan should say so. And Pakistan should not be timid about it. Pakistan should not be apologetic about it. Why I'm saying that is there is a lot that Pakistan government has to say, and there is a lot that the cricketing nations have to clarify.
When
and
we
so
talk
does
about,
Pakistan.
So there is, like you said, there is one side which is the cricket side of it, but the other side is of course the image of Pakistan. The other side is the foreign policy of Pakistan.
Absolutely.
The other side is our interaction with other countries of recent also. But as far as the image is concerned, we've seen recently tourism increase in Pakistan. You know, we've tried the image of Pakistan, the way that it's been portrayed recently. This also takes a toll on that. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, I think the incumbent government of Imran Khan has done a lot. He had to pick up the pieces because we did not even have the foreign minister in the last government. And Fatmi the Grey was sitting in the Prime Minister's office and orchestrating a very passive and Western pleasing policy here from Islamabad. And Imran Khan came and he said that he will pursue a policy for the dignity of Pakistan. He will pursue a policy on equal terms with the international community. And indeed he has succeeded in many fields. Even he's been on tour in Central Asia. And
I will just come back.
He announced that he is negotiating with the Taliban, forming the government.
Right, I will come back to you, Brigadier Sahab. Let me go to PJ Mir, who's a senior journalist. We have with him on the phone. Mir Sahab, how do you see? We've been talking about the fact that this is not only. I mean, of course, it has ramifications for Pakistan's international image. It has our ramifications, for our engagement with other countries in the recent past. It has, also the way that Pakistan is looked at internationally. Of course, tourism had increased recently. All of that, it will have an effect on all those things. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree with you. I think the latest scenario which we witnessed with
withdrawal of the New Zealand team from Pakistan, I think it's an insult to Pakistan. Now, for starters, the ICC, the controlling cricket body, they have experts on anti-terrorism. They have highly qualified ex-Scotland Yard and other security agencies, officials who work for them. Now, they gave the clearance to Pakistan. Then the New Zealand security team, which it accompanied, they gave the clearance to Pakistan. Our own security agencies gave the clearance to Pakistan. So where does this information come on to the New Zealanders that they have received? How come? I mean, is the blood of the Pakistani cricketers not as precious as them? I think what the Prime Minister did, he did a wonderful job by at least appealing. Excuse me, we've got all the top security, and plus the fact the international cricketing body has given us a clearance. So where does New Zealand come in? I mean, I can imagine 1939 we had the West Indies tour cancelled to England. Why? Because of the World War. Then, of course, 84, 85, we see Indira Gandhi being assassinated. Yes, the Indian tour gets cancelled. Fair enough. 2002, one bomb blast in Karachi, and of course the Sri Lanka, the New Zealanders, they go back. And 18 years later, just before the toss, they again do the same. So, I mean, what kind of a policy are they following? I think they have undermined Pakistan's security efforts, and as you rightly said, Pakistan has done so much and been a victim of terrorism, and yet Pakistan is penalized for that. And I think it's a shameful thing that this tour had to be cancelled, because it's not New Zealand, it's international cricket which has suffered.
What about, can you tell us a little bit about what our options are within the ICC? What can we do agitating this issue? How far can we do it? What are the ways that we can do it?
I think we need to be telling the ICC, look, we are as good as anybody else. I mean, for starters, will we be jeopardizing our own players' life and lives if the situation was bad? I think we will be the first one to tell them, excuse me, I think the situation is not right. But for a country coming out of Pakistan and telling us that, they've received security threats, well, please disclose it to us. I mean, you've got to be fair. You've got to tell us, where did this emanate from? So that's one. And secondly, I think we need to be telling ICC, look, you can't just make hasty decisions like that. And I've also gone to the extent of telling that whatever expenses the Pakistan Cricket Board has suffered, the New Zealand Cricket Board will have to compensate Pakistan for that. I mean, there's been a lot of money which has been, dispensed, for the arrangement of these tours, the hotels, the traveling, the expense, the airlines, and so on and forth. So I think they need to be, made quite clear about this thing. But at the same time, I think we need to have a very strong person in the ICC, our representative, who has to plead a case, very diligently and, professionally.
What about the other tours that are now, the tour of England, Australia? Do you think that they will happen?
Well, now, you see, till yesterday, it was 24 to 48 hours that England had decided to review in the wake of New Zealand withdrawing. Okay, fair enough. But at the end of the day, I think what we need to be doing and talking to the English Cricket Board that, this is not the case. And New Zealand have overreacted. And, you should be thinking, quite solidly on this. And of course, again, we've got the West Indies tour. I mean, we have basically, New Zealand basically have done what the Sri Lankan attackers haven't done, really. Because what they have done is actually murdered cricket in Pakistan by doing what they did. And I think it's quite shameful. But again, I think each board to their own. We've got a good chairman in PCB, Rameez Raja. I think he'll be talking to those people because he's got personal contacts as well. And I'm sure he'll be trying to convince them that, look, this is not what has been portrayed, but this has been a misinformed and a clear misperception about the security efforts which Pakistan has made.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Ji, I'm going to go to Yasir Hameed. Ji, Yasir sir, what about the overall, even people who are not as far as, linked to cricket? We are seeing an overall people are affected all over. There is shock and, like I said, disappointment. But what about overall morale within, our cricket team, within our cricket circles? How are things there?
I think Pakistan have seen the worst time in last 10 years when there was terrorism in Pakistan, and we have been facing the bar of terrorism, and we have faced those days, and we have played cricket as well, and we have won the World Cup in those days. So I think the players' morale will not be hurt. Yes, at the moment they will be. Obviously, everyone is furious, everyone is strange, understandable things are happening. And yesterday, it was totally ununderstandable thing have been done by New Zealand cricket. But this cannot lower our morale as a nation. We have fought more worse situations. We have seen more worse situations. In KP and everywhere in all Pakistan, and Alhamdulillah, today Pakistan is different Pakistan.
For us now, if these other subsequent tours, as far as Australia, England is concerned, if they're also cancelled, then of course, I mean, for us to revive cricket in a way will become quite challenging. We have to acknowledge that, right?
Of course, obviously we are looking to play home series, which are very important for our next generation, our younger generation who want to become cricketer. I remember I used to go to the ground to watch our heroes when I was a kid, and it really give a very positive effect to the player. But we are living in the world. We have to face the challenges. We know that why it's happening. We all know that. And the Brigadier sir was right. And second him, we have to make some firm policies. We have to follow those. We have to stand up on our feet as a nation. We have to face the challenges. That's how life is. And one day our time will come, inshallah. And we have to believe on this.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us, Yasir Hameed. Thank you for being with us. Ji, Brigadier Sahab, other than, of course, the issue of the fact that we need to agitate this, government to government, we need to take it up. We need diplomacy also. We need all kind of efforts to come to the root of it, which is what you've been saying. But as far as our own, like I said, I want morale is concerned, definitely things are going to be challenging for us in the next, for cricket as a whole. For us, it's going to take a toll on the image of Pakistan as a whole also.
Well, we did not lose our morale when the terrorists was just sitting across Chakdara and Sawat.
Yeah.
And they were threatening Islamabad within reach of 100 odd kilometers. And we evacuated the entire area of Sawat Valley and adjoining areas and launched an operation against them and pushed them across. And we won against them. Same went in North and South Waziristan and all, and it still goes on. We have faced terrorism sponsored by the Indians in Balochistan for decades. Our morale is good. Pakistan morale does not depend on small little hiccups here and there. This time will pass. This nation is very resilient. Not only its armed forces, but its teachers, its businessmen, its policemen, everybody, its media. I'm sure about that. And Pakistan is a country which is an important country in the minds of the international community.
We keep saying that.
Whether they like it, whether they hate us for that, whether we are useful for them or not, whether they want us to be in pieces is another case. But Pakistan is one of the most talked countries in the world, and this time is going to pass. This small little thing is a misbehavior.
You think, I mean, how, in your opinion, and this is, I'm obviously going to be something, I'm asking your opinion, is it a conspiracy?
Is it?
A conspiracy?
You cannot rule out that. You cannot rule out the strings in politics and what our neighbor wants from the international community regarding us. You cannot absolve that. That's what I said. I said that you take out the investigation of Gaddafi Stadium episode when the Sri Lankans were here and establish a link. That has been a formal inquiry which has to be taken out. The second most important thing that I said on this program is that we need a clarification from the England Cricket Board, the ECB, and the British government, whether the intelligence has its record and communication and all that. What the New Zealanders said to us, why are they going back? And we need a clarification. That tour of England should depend on that clarification. It's not. Now it is not cricket which is more important. It is the prestige of Pakistan. It is the way that the international community has dealt with us in various fields, including sports. So I think Pakistan needs to get its act together. We have a stable head in the Pakistan Cricket Board. Ramesh Raja, I've heard him, and Pakistanis have heard him over and over again. I'm sure he will have something to say to the International Cricket Council. But the International Cricket Council, I'm telling you, will say that if the players don't want to play in such security environments, if the government wants them to return, what can we do?
But the point is such security environments and what security environment there was, which is what we want to know. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have. Thank you so much for being with us, Brigadier Tipu Sultan. Thank you for joining us. Yasir Hameed, thank you for being with us. PJ Mir, thank you for joining us. As far as the issue of cricket is concerned, certainly we're all disappointed, we're all in shock. But now, like the discussion that we've had, of course, it's about the honor, the dignity, of the prestige of Pakistan at this time and how it relates to that. We need answers. We need to know why this tour was cancelled, whether it was at the behest of a security concern that came out of England or on whose initiation it happened, whether it's a conspiracy from across the border. All of those answers we need for there to be, of course, as far as the next tours are concerned, England, Australia, we are going to make all efforts. Of course, our government is going to make all efforts to allay any concerns any of these teams or countries may have on security. But the answers that we seek are why it happened and where did this threat, so to speak, come from. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.